Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to dive into a little bit of Fields of Mistria theory and speculation, and we're going to be talking about the two special marriage candidates that have yet to be revealed. We're going to be talking about who I think they are and how I think it's all going to play out. So grab yourself a drink, get cozy, and let's get started. The website states that there are going to be two secret romanceable candidates, and the only thing that we've gotten from Fields of Mistria itself is these two outlines that you can see of what those candidates are going to look like. We're going to have some spoilers for the current storyline, and there's going to be some extra spoilerish things that people have been able to glean from the game's code, but those extra spoilerish things are going to start at this time and end at this time. So if you don't want to see it, you can skip that part. I'm going to set it up as chapters, and I will also remind you when we get to that point so you can skip ahead if needed. On day 2 of the game, you wake up to Island chopping away at a tree on your farm. You help him chop down that tree, and behind the tree is a statue of a dragon that needs to be fixed up. You're able to fix it up, and then that night when you go to bed, he introduces himself as Caldarus, and he tells you that he is the guardian of Mistria. He's woken up now, but he doesn't have a lot of power, and so what you need to do is restore his power by collecting essence that you get when you do tasks in the game, and then you donate it to the statue, and in exchange for that you get skill points that you can use to unlock new abilities across a variety of different categories. You unlock the mines in the game when you reach the town renowned level of stone, and when you enter the mines, you and Island will find another dragon statue that is also destroyed. This statue can be interacted with as well, but it's a more limited way. All you can do to it is donate essence in order to gain skill points in mining and combat, but you can't actually talk to it. It doesn't communicate with you at all. When you get to level 10 of the mine, someone will call out to you, and overnight, Caldarus will give you your first magic spell. When you reach level 20 of the mines, you will meet the dragon priestess, and you'll need to break the seal in that room in order to progress further in the mines. You do this by donating 4 different items, which are things that are found in the upper levels. After this, Caldarus tells you that you need to break 5 seals in order to completely restore his power. Currently, in the early access of the game, there are only 2 seals that you can break at level 20 and at level 40. You can get down to level 60 in the mines, but at that point you're basically told come back later. That's a little backstory that you need to know. Now here's my theory. The first marriage candidate to me is definitely Caldarus. This to me is very clear. The biggest indicator of that is that there's a heart next to his name when you speak to him. This heart indicates that the other marriage candidates in the game are marriage candidates, and so it's clear to me that that same logic applies to Caldarus. But at this time, we don't have a way to actually gain friendship with him. You can't give him gifts. He's not listed in the friendship tab of the menu, but you can talk to him every day, and he is amazing, y'all. Side note, I love Caldarus's character so much. I love all of the marriage candidates in the game, but honestly, I'm kind of just holding out for Caldarus at this point. He is your biggest fan in the game. He's so impressed with you, and he's constantly making these really sweet comments about your abilities and your growth as a farmer. He reminds you to take care of yourself. He also takes an interest in the goings-on of the villagers. He asks you questions about them, or he indicates how impressed he is with their work. And he also has an appreciation for nature. He gets very excited about the changing seasons and the weather. I adore him so much that I made a little cozy area outside of his statue so that he can have a cozy little spot and we can hang out. I talk to him every single day. But now let's talk about how I think all of this is gonna play out. I'm gonna make some comparisons to the best farming sim that has ever been created, which is Harvest Moon Animal Parade. So when I think of Caldarus's romance, it reminds me a lot of the romance with the Harvest King in Animal Parade. The main objective of Animal Parade is to ring all 5 bells. These are basically bundles that you complete, and once you complete the bundles, you're able to ring the bell. The Harvest Goddess is the one who gives you these tasks, and that's really the main objective of the game, is to ring the bells and summon the Harvest King. Once all 5 bells have been returned to their frames and rung, that is considered the end of the main storyline of the game. Ringing the bells will summon the Harvest King, and then when you go meet him, he becomes a marriageable candidate. So I have a feeling that the Caldarus romance is going to operate very similarly to that. I think that once you have broken all 5 seals in the mines, this will restore enough power to Caldarus that he's able to reassume his his corporeal form, and at that point he will become befriendable and romanceable. I'm very confident in that theory, and I'm honestly just so excited to be able to continue that storyline, and I'm so excited to continue wooing my dragon husband. Now let's talk about the other secret romanceable candidate, and this is where I feel like there's a lot that we still don't know, and the little bit that we do know kind of raises more questions than answers. So I could be totally off base here, but here's my theory. This section is going to contain some information that was data mined, which can be considered spoilers. So if you want to completely skip this section, that is totally understandable. This is the time where I stop talking about the second marriage candidate. If you're okay with a little bit of spoilers, but you don't want the biggest spoilers, then those are going to come a little bit later, and I'll give you another warning at that time. I think that the other romanceable candidate is the other dragon, the one that there is a statue of in the mines. I also think that the second marriage candidate could be the priestess, and I think that those two things are not necessarily mutually exclusive. For the priestess, the wiki says that she is flagged as dateable in the game's code, but that one is a little bit iffy and a little bit confusing, because if you look at the symbol next to her name, it is an octagon, not a heart. So if she is going to be romanceable eventually, even if she's not currently befriendable, you would think that she would have a heart next to her name if you follow the logic that Caldarus has a heart in front of his name. And it also doesn't match the outline found here or here. There's definitely a lot of evidence in the game that there are at least two different dragons, at least one dragon besides Caldarus. First of all, if you look at the two dragon statues side by side, you'll notice that they do look different. The dragon statue in the mine is a different pose, the face looks a little bit more narrow, and the horns have a different shape. We also know that there are two different dragons because there are two different dragon statuettes that you can find as archaeological finds. This is where I'm going to get into some of the data mined content, so if you don't want to see any of this and you want to skip back to just my pure speculation that doesn't have to do with the stuff that was data mined, you can skip to this location. This is going to be stuff that folks have gleaned from the game's files, plus a little bit of a dash of my own speculation, so proceed at your own risk. Now, according to the game files, like I mentioned earlier, the priestess is romanceable, but her name is also not listed as the priestess. It's listed as Ceridia, which is also the name of the statue in the mines. Folks were also able to pull these images of what the two secret romanceable candidates look like. One of them is Caldarus, and one of them is presumably Ceridia. You'll notice here that neither of these sprites look like the priestess in the mines. So what is going on here? I think one of two things could be true. Either the priestess and the dragon are separate entities, with the dragon being romanceable and the priestess not. The priestess could perhaps be a follower of the dragon of the statue who is guiding you through the process of breaking the seal in order to regain power for the dragon that she follows. Now, as for why she would be flagged as dateable if she's not, I don't really know. Perhaps that was something old or something left over from a previous version. I'm not really an expert on coding or programming in games, so that's just some thoughts that could potentially be the case. Now, the other theory is that the dragon and the priestess are somehow the same, and there's a story reason that explains exactly what happened. Perhaps she was separated from her spirit somehow, and we have to return her spirit to her dragon form. And since we would have to go through that storyline to reunite the two, that could be why the priestess doesn't have a heart next to her name. But maybe once her spirit is returned to the dragon, then the heart will appear next to her name. Now, this seems to be the most likely explanation based on everything we've seen if you put all of the different factors together, but I'm really not sure how exactly that's going to play out. That's just something that we're going to have to see over time. One thing that is for certain is that the second dragon seems to have been forgotten over time. Island is the local historian. He's part of the historical society, and when the two of you uncover the statue of Caldarus on your farm, he's familiar with who he is. He's able to tell you that he's the mythological guardian of Mistria and that the ancient ancestors used to worship statues like this one. However, when the two of you find the dragon statue in the mines later on, he doesn't really give any indication that he knows who it is, and in fact he tells you that there's no record of that statue existing at all. We also get a little bit of info about the two different dragons through the archaeological skill in the museum. As I mentioned earlier, there are two different dragon statuettes that you can find. One of them is called the statuette of Caldarus, and one of them is called an unknown dragon statuette. The description of the statuette of Caldarus says, a legendary artifact. There seems to have been a subset of the empire that once worshipped Caldarus. And when you donate it to the museum, it's part of the Caldosian Empire collection. The description of the unknown dragon statuette doesn't give any information about who it could be other than it doesn't appear to be Caldarus. And when you donate it to the museum, it's part of the Upart group. I'm not sure if that's how that's technically supposed to be pronounced, but what it stands for is out of place artifact. I looked this term up and the definition is an artifact of historical, archaeological, or paleontological interest to someone that is claimed to have been found in an unusual context, which someone claims to challenge conventional historical chronology by its presence in that context, which is very interesting. And when you think about it, I wonder what conventional historical chronology could be challenged by the existence of this statue. Island also makes a comment when you donate the unknown dragon statuette, and he says, the unknown dragon statuette you donated is very interesting. It looks different from the other dragon statues we've come across in Mistria. Do you think it's just a stylistic difference? So clearly there's something up here. There's a reason why there are no historical references to this dragon. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I think that it's very, very interesting. Another really interesting piece of information comes when you look at the likes and dislikes that have been data mined for the priestess and Caldarus. One of Caldarus's hated items is the unknown dragon statuette, and one of the priestess's hated items is the statuette of Caldarus. So there definitely seems to be some sort of history there. Maybe the two dragons were rivals, enemies. Is it possible that the empire was divided into two factions, each of the factions worshipping one of the dragons? I'm not 100% sure, but it's definitely interesting to think about. I think it's also interesting when you think about the location and the different skills that are associated with each of the dragons. So obviously Caldarus's statue is located outdoors, and the skills that he is able to provide power for are a lot of the skills that focus on living things in the natural world, such as gardening, fishing, raising animals, versus the statue inside the mines is obviously located in the mines, and the powers that you're able to receive from that statue revolve around the things that happen in the mines, for example, combat and mining itself. So maybe each of the dragons has a certain domain that they're kind of the ruler of as well. So that's my theory on what's going on here, and a little bit of thoughts about the lore of the game. You know, a lot of people understandably don't want to get into early access games because they don't want to play a game where the story isn't complete, but honestly, with Fields of Mistria, I'm having so much fun figuring out the lore, and I'm having so much fun with the fact that there's stuff that we don't know yet, so that we can do a little bit of speculation and a little bit of guessing about the lore. Who do you think the secret marriage candidates are? Do you think the priestess and the dragon are the same? What do you think is going on here? Let me know down in the comments. If you want to see me stream Fields of Mistria and other cozy games, be sure to check me out on my live streams here or on Twitch. You can also join my Discord server. We have an amazing community over there of people that play cozy games, people that play non-cozy games. It's a really nice space, and we've been talking up a storm about Fields of Mistria lately, so be sure to join if you'd like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye, everyone.